Hello, everybody. Good evening. Welcome along to your Monday Night Rabble here on the Rabble Network, or the Rangers Rabble Podcast, whatever one you prefer. I am joined tonight by Bryan and Stuart. Stuart, how was Jamaica?
It was very, very good. Yes, thoroughly enjoyed it. Back to reality with a bang today. First day back at work. It was not a pleasant morning opening up that Outlook mailbox, I can tell you. Yeah, no, I had a great time. Absolutely brilliant. Someplace would really recommend it.
Did you partake in a wee reefer, did we?
No. Just the red stripe and rum. Just the red stripe and rum for me. That's all.
Bryan, you could just imagine Stuart, could you? With a wee bit of reefer in him, man. He'd be hilarious, wouldn't he?
It's just
hilarious anyway.
I love you guys. That's
it's some thought, isn't it? It's some thought, I must admit.
There's certainly plenty of it available, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I bet there was. The reason I say reefer is because I think if I said the other word, we'd probably get the channel taken down because YouTube's went very woke. Bryan, how are you?
By the way, the Rabble travel mug came in. What a job it did. Kept everything very cool. Great for your cocktails and your beers and stuff like that. Absolutely brilliant.
It keeps your stuff cool and it keeps your hot drinks hot. And it's now been to Jamaica, which I think might be the furthest a Rangers travel mug has ever travelled.
I took half the Rabble shop with me.
I know, I love
the bucket hats are good, by the way. And the bucket hats probably did save my life for a couple of times with that sun right enough. So,
well, Wolf's actually asking, how did the hairdo cope with the climate? Well, you've just answered.
The bucket hat saved them.
Are you talking about my partners here, there, Wolf? Because, by the way, every night that get brought up here because of the heat and stuff like that. I thought, geez, here we go.
Did she go full Monica?
Didn't quite go that, but it was getting to the point where I said, look, I've got a set of clippers with me. We could easily just solve this problem here, you know.
Why are you taking clippers with you?
I've still got hair. It still grows, by the way. I know you're living a lie, but I'm no.
No, I'm just living a very high hairline. Is what I'm living.
That's true.
Oh, thanks very much, Stuart. Anyways, Bryan, my friend, since this afternoon, are you any better than this afternoon?
I was fine this afternoon. It was somebody else that wasn't feeling great. I was fine.
Oh God.
You sounded rough, by the way. You sounded rough.
I have got no idea how I made that 10 o'clock show because I was rough, and I apologise to all the members. It was not professional. But we got there.
It was 10:05. It wasn't 10.
Listen. 10:05 is actually not bad when you consider how rough I was this morning. But that's me. I'm absolutely. Do you know? I know, Bryan, you enjoy and partake in a little alcoholic beverage. Sure, I know that you partake and enjoy in a little alcoholic beverage. I think I'm genuinely done now because see if I have 2 cans of beer, or I have, as I had last night, 9 cans of beer, I've got the same head the next morning. It's just not enjoyable for me the next day, no matter how much I drink. So I think I'm done with it now.
Maybe a sign.
It was 10 cans this morning. It's up down to 9.
No, it was 9. Oh no, because I found out Lisa had one of them. So thankfully I didn't drink all 10 Cruise Campo. I just had the 9. You do get a hangover with Guinness, Paul.
Certain beers as well, though. See those Spanish beers?
Oh, they're lethal, man.
Guinness doesn't give you a headache. I'll back Paul up 100%.
No, I'll tell you a story about that when we're not on air, right? It does. It absolutely does. Right, Stuart, since feels like I've not spoke to you for ages, even though I've walked past your house quite a few times just to double check that you were on holiday, because I need to do these things.
God. Wow. And by the way, he's no kidding.
I'm surprised your neighbours, one of whom is my mother, didn't phone you and go, by the way, Stuart, there's this creepy guy looking in your window. Rangers are back tomorrow, Stuart. How much are you looking forward to it?
am now. I have to say, I think I've quite enjoyed having a bit of a break from it all. And I think being away as well helped with that. I kind of kept abreast of what was kind of happening as well as I could, but it was nice just to have a bit of a breather from it. But yeah, looking forward to be back to Ibrox. Obviously missed the Bruges game, so looking forward to that. And it's a big game, isn't it? It's not just a friendly that we're going back into. This is a very big game, which I think could. I'm kind of two minds about it, Martin. I have to say, in terms of, I think it's important in terms of the season. But on the other hand, I do look at it in terms of saying, is it just coming a wee bit early for us, potentially? But I still think we've got more than a decent chance against Panathinaikos. But I think it's going to be an interesting evening to see how the team react to what's happened over the last 4 weeks. I think it'll be even more interesting to see how the crowd react to that, particularly if maybe things don't go to plan right away. I think that will be interesting. But yeah, really looking forward to it. And I think it's good to have Rangers back.
I mean, I take on board, Brian, what Stuart said there about, is there a possibility that it might be a little bit too early, right? New owners, new manager, the club's, been overhauled from top to bottom, bottom to top, whatever way they're looking to do it. So there's been a lot of change within the football club, a lot of new faces. There's a lot of stuff happening, right? However, the board who have took over have known about this for a long, long time. It has been no secret that we had a Champions League game midway through July or whatever. It's been known about. Panathinaikos are in a sort of similar position to us if you listen to their media and their support. So there's no real excuses for if we are, which I don't think we will be, but if we are underprepared tomorrow, there's no excuses.
No, I do share Stuart's concerns in the sense that we've only played one sort of game with a crowd at Ibrox. This pre-season. I think I said that this afternoon. That is one aspect that I'm a little bit worried about, in the sense that some of the new players won't have played in that atmosphere and that sort of magnitude before. So that does sort of concern me a bit. But at the same time, looking, as you say, Panathinaikos aren't in the best shape either. And we're starting to at least score some goals now, albeit the opposition isn't very strong, but you can only beat what's in front of you. So things are starting to, Danilo's at least starting to contribute now, because I think that was a problem last year. I think Dessers was taking the full shoulder of the forward line, and he had nobody else backing him up, and he had to play every game. So at least there's options now. I mean, I fully expect Danilo to start tomorrow with Dessers coming on in the second half. So there's going to be it's going to be good competition for places now. I think when Dessers had competition for places, he played better. He was scoring goals. He was contributing more. I think when he was obviously the only person you could play, he was starting to struggle with the weight of expectation on him. So it's a big game. I do expect us to win the tie. I'm confident enough in the team that we should get a result over the two legs, and it's an interesting tie if we get through. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I said this, Stuart, to Brian today. I can't be confident that we're going to go through. I can't be confident that we're a better team than Panathinaikos or vice versa, because I really don't know. I mean, I know Russell Martin spoke today and he spoke about what he wants to see for his Rangers team and all that sort of stuff. And that's all great. Words are all fantastic. But I don't know what to expect for this Rangers team on the park.
Well, none of us do. And I think even the coaching staff probably don't know. They'll have an idea and they will set out a game plan. But, it's down to the players today. I agree with you. We are in a bit of an unknown with this. I think this tie would be difficult in normal circumstances. I think the circumstances where once again we've went into a summer where we're having to overhaul the squad. We're not just adding one or two to a kind of settled team, makes it that just bit more difficult. I do agree with Brian. I think we are capable of winning this. I just think it's important for us in terms of, when you look at potential, draws that we might get in terms of if we didn't get through, it's important from a financial perspective. It's a nice bonus just to even get through this round of it. But also, I just think I think for maybe just setting a marker, I think it's quite telling that the manager keeps speaking about fans leaving Ibrox tomorrow night with an idea and a picture about what this team might look like. He's referenced that quite a few times now. And I think that's really important that we do come away with that tomorrow night, that we do see a style of play. It won't be perfect. And again, that's where I then come in. The crowd have to play a part here. I think there has to be, going to say this word, patience with it. Some sort of understanding that it won't all click. But I think as long as we can see what we're trying to do, and hopefully get a positive result, because I think that would be really important to take to Greece the following week. But it's going to be an interesting tie.
Yeah, it very much is. It very much is. And the nerves for me of all, I don't know if it's because this feels, Stuart, like a new beginning for the football club in terms of bringing us into the 21st century, bringing us into being run like a football club that's not run by supporters or Scottish businessmen. It's run by elite people. And all right, okay, yeah, you can go back to when I can't remember the guy who took over in the late 80s. I forget his name.
Murray?
No, before
Holmes. David Holmes.
Holmes, yes. Very good owner, blah, blah, blah. But we've never had this sort of ownership before. And I think that's why it's really kicking in. And I'm getting really, really nervous, but excited at the same time, because we're finally being run like a big club.
But I agree with you, because you'll get pulled up for it. David Holmes wasn't the owner, by the way, Lord.
Yeah, he was the chairman. I know.
He was the kind of his man in there running it. But yeah, and what we need to see, Martin, is results on the pitch. That's, at the end of the day, there's been a lot of positivity around the club this summer. It took a while to get there, as these things do. But we got that over the line, and that created a kind of positive vibe. The managerial search, some pro, Martin, some against. I don't think there was one standout candidate that had everybody's backing. I have to say,
I know how that feels.
I agreed with what you said on the afternoon rabble. In terms of, I've been really impressed with how he's handled himself. I think he's saying the right things. I don't think he's put a foot wrong in that regard. I think some of the signings look positive, look quite exciting. Again, some fans are slightly negative on the fact that it seems to be coming from one area, but I think that was to be expected, given this game was on the horizon, and he probably wanted players that he knew and trusted that they could come in and do a job for him. But the last part of that now is to see some results, and if we can get a really positive result tomorrow night and see a decent performance and a style of football that we've let's be honest, we've not seen for a while. We've watched some boring football at Ibrox. In truth, it hasn't been exciting at times under the last manager. I think we've kind of, what is the plan? If we can see that, then I think that momentum just hopefully builds, etc. And interesting again that the manager's comments, they say that in 4 weeks' time again, this squad will look very different to where we are now. So again, you can keep building that positivity as we then go into the league season.
Well, yeah, that tells me, Brian, that there's going to be a lot of departures, but there's going to be a few more in the door as well.
Nearly did it. Yeah, there is obviously going to be some hefty departures. The nature of them is going to be interesting, obviously, because of the situation regarding Robin Proper and what's happening there. It's as I said this afternoon, it's a bit of a dangerous we're playing a dangerous game in that regard, because if we cave into Proper and his demands, then there's a good chance that all the other players that are wanting to leave and all that, they'll follow suit and think, well, if he's getting his contract paid up, I'm wanting my contract paid up. And it's a legacy of the former sort of board and the sporting director, head of recruitment, that we're left with these big wages and guys not contributing. So it's going to be very interesting, and I dare say quite stressful for the fans, because we all know we're needing a few guys out on high wages, and it's how we get them out, and finding buyers for them, because that's going to be the big problem. It's all very well agreeing a fee, and that the clubs are going to balk at some of these wages, because it's, some of them are just on really, really astronomical ones. And I think that's going to be the biggest problem. I don't think the agreeing the fees is going to be the problem. I think the buying clubs are going to take one look at their wages and think, oof, cheapers, and just steer clear. So that's going to be the problem.
Do you like JD's picture there, Stuart?
Where is it? Sorry, I missed it.
So, it's on the screen. JD's
I
picture.
can't really see it. What is it?
It's Disco Stu.
Oh, is it? That's copyright, by the way. That's copyright.
Anybody who doesn't get that reference, it's because you don't get it. I don't have time to explain it. But let's just say Stuart wasn't home and there was a disco in his house. Right? Let's
Outside the house.
Outside the. By the way, if anybody ever ends up in Stuart Street, you'll know which door is Stuart's. It is the most staunch door I think I have ever seen. It's beautiful though. It's beautiful. It's very, very, very staunch. Can I just shift, Stuart, the conversation for 2 seconds? Because, and first of all, John Scott, thank you. You have become a member on YouTube. Thank you very much, John. I hope you enjoy all the extra content. And thank you for the support. Margaret Young as well has put in a super chat. Next time you do it, Margaret, make sure you leave a comment and I'll read that out for you. I think that might be the fastest super chat we ever had. She put that in before we started. So thank you very much, Margaret. And Beat Bop Boop. Again, my favourite name. Tomorrow we need fire in our hearts and ice in our head. Now that could have went very wrong, me reading that out there. But yeah, I mean, he's right, Stuart. But again, it's back to the old conversation of we don't know what especially the new players are going to bring. And also, by the way, Stuart, he mentioned Tav. I want to get your thoughts on this. Tav's willingness to learn. And Martin and his kind of press conference as well said it might have been strange for some of the younger players to see a much older player asking so many questions.
I think that's a really positive thing. Again, it just shows that Tav is not. There's no ego there from him. It is a new way of playing for Tav. It will be interesting to see exactly what role he has, particularly as the season develops, but tomorrow as well, just to see again how we're set out. I mean, the manager's kind of alluded to a few things. He was asked about style and maybe what to expect, and he talked about the fact that there has to be kind of almost like a tempo to our game. The patience actually talked about comes when we get to the final third, where actually we might need to be a bit more patient to maybe break it down. But in terms of getting to the final third, I think what we will see is a lot of really quick movement with the ball. Butland will have to play a part in that. So I hope to see it's mixed up if it can be. It doesn't mean everything needs to be short passes. If we can go long, we should be doing that. But yeah, look, Tav as a captain should be setting an example. I think he does that probably in terms of how he handles himself and then around that the training centre, etc. And that's just another example of it where clearly he's learning new things here. He's having to adapt in terms of what's the expectations on him. But he's clearly shown that he's been there 10 years. He's an experienced professional. He's the captain. But it doesn't mean that he can't ask the manager a question just to clarify things. And you would hope that all players are doing that.
No, 100%. And that's the one thing I don't think, Brian, you've ever been able to question with Tav, is his dedication and professionalism, not just on the park, but off it as well. Yes, we can judge some of his performances and we can ask, look, does he still have the legs? Is he good enough, etc., etc. But he has been an extremely good ambassador for our football club.
Absolutely. But Nick, you keep going back to the trophy room's just not been filled enough while he's been here. It's as simple as that. And like it or lump it, that's how he's going to be remembered mostly. You know, the amount of trophies that he's won. You know, it's because it's not been enough. I mean, I know we've had some great sort of moments over the period that he's been here, but largely it's been not very good. Largely we've been nowhere near winning leagues, and winning the odd cup here and there and winning one league's just not enough. So yes, some of his performances has been, you know, dragged us through some games. Some have cost us, but yeah, it's. I'm afraid it's going to be the lack of trophies that's going to go against him. It's going to be one of those ones. Once he goes, we'll maybe think of him fonder. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be one of those. If I'm honest.
I tried to, Stuart, just give a little bit, just a tiny bit.
I noticed, and Brian just brought his cash back there.
Tav, and Brian just went, Martin, no
like
chance.
Nobody will be talking about trophies when we win a quadruple this year.
Yes, very well. Yes, what's the quadruple? Is it? Are we back in the 10 and 6s? Are we? Is that?
Love the 10 and 6s, by the way. Love that.
So good. I mean, the fact you're watching players like Ali McCoy's play 6-a-side, you know, just before the season starts.
Absolutely. Who cares about potential European fixtures? We've got 10 and 6s to play, you know.
10 and 6s to win.
McCoy's did he scored a Panenka in the 10 and 6s, you know, absolutely brilliant. Yeah, bring that back.
Yes, 100%. Sure. Are we 100? I'll try that in English this time, shall I? You mentioned Butland there. Are we 100% sure, certain that Butland's going to be number one?
Yes,
or is 100%. Liam Kelly going to give him a run?
No, it's Butland, isn't it? I think I know there was changes made in the Hamilton game at the weekend, but Butland, I think that the first half team, I'll be amazed if that doesn't make up the majority of the starting lineup tomorrow night. Even in the second half, Butland was still in goal. I think Butland will be back to number one for the start of the season. And look, I think maybe some of us thought he might not be here at this point. Maybe we thought that, you know, he would have maybe moved on, but he's still here. But he's now got probably to prove to quite a few folk that he is the number one, because his form did fall off a cliff. There's no denying that. I'm sure he would admit that as well. So big opportunity for Butland tomorrow night. How does he deal with a Russell Martin style of play? You know, that might be interesting. I'm going to be interested to see how many times you hear somebody in Ibrox tomorrow night losing the plot because Butland is playing a pass to someone and they've got someone only 5 yards away from it. We are going to need to get used to this, that this is what the manager is asking them to do. It's not players just deciding to do that. It's going to take a bit of getting used to for some folk. But Jack Butland, to me, is the better goalkeeper. His form didn't merit him being number one towards the end of last season, but clean slate, fresh start, I think he comes back in. Do you not?
I wasn't convinced. And I'll tell you why. The only reason I wasn't convinced, and I don't know if this is how we are going to play, right? But all I hear is it's pass, pass, pass. The goalkeeper plays quite high up. He gets involved in the play. Pass, pass, pass. And Brian, I just looked at last season and I went, right, okay, who's the better shot stopper? Jack Butland.
Mm.
right? Who's the better all-round goalkeeper? So who's the better goalkeeper with the ball at his feet? Who's the better goalkeeper at communication, etc., etc., etc.? And I didn't know, because Liam Kelly is no bad with the ball at his feet. He's much, much better with the ball at his feet than what Jack Butland does. So my thinking, Brian, was with Russell Martin coming in and with all this emphasis on how they want to play, and we'll discuss that in a wee second in terms of the non-negotiables. I thought maybe there's a chance here, Brian, that Kelly does get that number 1 jersey, not because he's a better goalkeeper all round, but because he's better with the ball at his feet.
Yeah. Butland isn't a bad, Butland didn't become a bad goalkeeper like overnight or over a few, he had a bad spell, right? Now, he played.
No, but Brian, is it not like the Joe Hart at Man City thing where Pep comes in? Joe Hart's still a relatively decent goalkeeper, good shot stopper, etc., but he's minced with the ball at his feet.
Well, he is, yes. I mean, I just wish goalkeepers would just be goalkeepers. I'm not a fan of these sweeper keepers and all this. I never have been. I just get any goalkeeper that gets the ball passed back to them and they don't kick it straight away, and they start playing about with your heart's in your mouth, because you know there's going to be a mistake eventually when they carry on doing that. So it's not surprising that if you do that often enough, you're going to get caught out once or twice. I just don't like keepers being this sweeper keeper stuff. I just don't like it. On you go.
I'm just going to say, by saying he's back as number 1, that's not me then saying that long-term Jack Butland is the answer for Russell Martin. But Russell Martin might have looked at this to say, do you know what? There's a lot of changes needed here. And actually, I'm comfortable with the goalkeepers that I've got at the moment, because I think I need to make more substantial changes and spend potential money elsewhere. And actually, the goalkeeper change might come later. That might be next summer, whatever it may be. So, because we have been linked with goalkeepers, so there's maybe no smoke without fire in that regard. So there's maybe something in that, but maybe there's just a priority list in terms of the areas that the manager first wants to look at, and goalkeeper is maybe just slightly further down that list. But it could change. That could be January or next summer.
Stuart, what's more important right now? A goalkeeper who's a better, and by right now I mean under Russell Martin, right? Not for me and you, but under Russell Martin. What's better right now? A goalkeeper who's a better shot stopper, or a goalkeeper who's levels ahead with the ball at his feet? What's more important right now?
Well, again, I suppose this comes back to that bit of the unknown in terms of what we're going to see from the Russell Martin team. I think if he had all the players at his disposal that he'd want, then I think, your goalkeeper is going to want somebody that's really, really good with the ball at his feet and will almost act as that kind of, as Brian says, a sweeper keeper. He acts as that extra outfield player to start things going. Russell Martin might be looking at it at the moment saying, well, do you know what? I need to adapt ever so slightly at the moment, because I maybe don't have all those players that mean that I can do that. So maybe some things will change. He talked about that in his when he did the Monday Night Football, and I think he talked about it when he first came into the club, about he's had time to reflect and on things that he would do differently. So until we see what tomorrow brings and how we set up and play, we might find that there'll be, it's not to say he's going to completely disregard what his beliefs are, but there might be some small tweaks in that, and it might not be that full Russell Martin style that we see at this point. He keeps talking about how that there's going to be, the team will build, and there will probably be mistakes, but gradually he hopes to implement it. So I think there's just, as we touched on, there's probably a wee bit of the unknown here, and we probably won't get all the answers tomorrow either.
No,
it'll take a wee bit of time for it to kind of all bed in and see where we are. But I tend to think,
Stuart, we won't get the answers tomorrow, but supporters will have made their mind up within 60 seconds. So,
well, look, I think we've seen some of the reaction to the draw when they were down at St George's Park. There are Rangers fans who have already made up their mind about this manager and in this team, unbelievably. I mean, a pre-season friendly that means absolutely nothing. Players really just trying to get minutes into their legs, thinking about formations, pressing, all those sort of things. And you've got social media blowing up that, you know, he'll be gone by Christmas and stuff like that. You're right. There will, if Rangers lose an early goal tomorrow, it'll be interesting to see how Ibrox reacts. I hope it reacts in a positive way to say, come on, let's get behind the team. But would it surprise me that there are those that are already so far down that road that they've made up their mind that there's no talking them back? No, it wouldn't.
I mean, Stuart, when you go back...
Brian, Sorry, Brian, on you go. I'll put a question to you next. On you go.
And I mean, we've technically only seen one game of football this pre-season, the fans. Yeah. One game. We've not seen any of the other ones. We've seen the odd highlights of maybe the goals that they scored in the games, but that's been it. So to make a judgment now and to say that he's either good enough or I'm not sure. We've only seen one game, and we've got to see a series of games before you can say, right, this is going somewhere, it's not going somewhere. You can't just base it on one singular game. That's just ridiculous. So you probably have to go about 10 games into the season before you start making sort of your mind up if things are working or not. So it's...
Well, that depends on results. It's really difficult for us because we're a football club that, you know, two losses in the first 3 or 4 games and it's over. It's done. For a lot of the support. The only way it gets back is if we pull our finger out and we go on and win the league. And unfortunately, if you lose games early in our league and your rival doesn't, it makes it very, 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 very difficult. However, I do have a question for the two of you. Brian, I'll start with you. 2 comments, actually. I'll start with Wolves. The support are massive tomorrow night. We need to stick with the team, even if it gets a bit ropey. So what we're talking about. But the question, Brian, from Hutchie, how do you think the new players will deal with the Ibrox atmosphere tomorrow night? Now, that goes back to the conversations that we've all been having of, should we have played 1 or 2 more games at Ibrox?
I would like to think they'll thrive in it. I mean, it's going to be 50,000 Rangers fans supporting them, wanting them to do well. So you would like to think they'll revel in that and they'll look around and think, right, this is where I want. This is where I want to be. This is where I want to play. I want to play in front of these fans. If you're not relishing that prospect, you shouldn't be at Rangers. Simple as that. You should be looking forward to tomorrow night. Looking forward to be under the lights. Champions League game, qualifier, albeit. But you should still be going out there with total excitement. You know, you should be desperate to get there and show the fans what you're capable of and what they're going to see from you this season. So if there's anybody in that dressing room nervous and a bit tetchy about tomorrow, then they shouldn't be at Rangers. Simple as that.
I thought it was interesting, Martin, to say just on the friendlies that Russell Martin talked about the pitch not being ready. And actually, it probably wasn't even ready for the Bruges game. But they had to get something done. And this just shows you the problems that you've got when you're involved in these qualifiers so early. You know, the groundsmen will have done an amazing job. I mean, they won awards last year for the pitch. The pitch, I've got no doubt, will be absolutely immaculate as we go through the rest of the season, but it does take time. So we've probably been a wee bit hamstrung just by timing alone. But I'm with Brian. I'd like to think that we've signed players who, as a recruitment team, believe will thrive in the kind of atmosphere that we can generate. You know, they're not all of them are completely inexperienced players. You know, they've played games at high levels, even Champions League level.
Can I interject there, Stuart?
Uh-huh.
Can I just interject there quickly, just to come straight back at you on that, right? I get that, right? Giga's played in the Champions League, etc., etc. I get that. But we're bringing it, it seems to be players that are all with English clubs, you know, Giga Wolves and Theo, and then you've got Fernandez, who was at Peterborough, etc. So there's every chance that we've got a 23-year-old centre-back starting for us tomorrow night, right, who played at Peterborough. And he's now coming in.
He won't be.
But he might.
He might. but I don't think he will.
And Tello Asgard, who's he played in front of in terms of an atmosphere that he's going to get tomorrow night, in terms of the pressure that he's going to get at Rangers throughout the full season? Is there a slight worry that we're signing players who might have the quality, absolutely, but don't have that experience in front of a crowd and the pressures that go with it?
There's always a risk, but there's a risk with every signing. But I think we have a tendency at the moment, and maybe that's just because we've been so badly affected by a really poor recruitment policy over recent years that we're almost kind of, they're going to struggle. Well, actually, they might not. They might thrive. Rovwell, played for a demanding club in Leeds United last year. I think we've got to give the benefit of the doubt here to this. That's not to say that if Ibrox can get a bit toxic, you can see how players react. But look at Czerny last year. We thought his head's gone. He'll never be able to deal with it here. Proved us all wrong. So again, going back to whatever happens tomorrow night, I don't think we can then absolutely then say, oh, well, he made a mistake there. He's a dud. He shouldn't kick a ball for us again. I think, again, we've got to let things settle down. But you're as guilty as anybody on that. But I think, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. I've got expectation. I mean, Asgard, for example, probably won't play tomorrow, but he's capped for Norway now. He's going into a dressing room for Norway that has got some serious players in there. So he's got an experience of being in an environment like that. So let's give them some slack and benefit of the doubt.
I mean, and by the way, there's every chance he might get some minutes. I think Russell Martin's been quite coy. And that seems, and by the way, just on that, Brian, right now, as it stands, I think that's our only injury, Asgard, which is incredible.
Well, there's that jinxed.
Sorry. Well, you're not correct, Sterling.
Apart from Sterling, but I've just forgot about him, to be honest with you. I feel sorry for Sterling, but he's just never going to be fit.
Well, I'm actually amazed that anybody that's came into Ibrox to sign hasn't slipped on the marble staircase or broke a nail in one of the doors or something. So it's nice to be only speaking about one or two injuries. It's been because that's been our downfall for a good while now. So it's nice that seems to be coming to an end, or certainly looks like it's coming to an end, with obviously Mr. Danilo being one of the main culprits of being injured. I mean, he got a bad head injury, but so it's nice that we seem to be not speaking about injuries now, because let's be honest, that's what dominated last season, was the injuries. For the last few seasons, you could argue injuries have dominated us, because it hasn't taken much for any of our players to get injured and they're gone. So. But I did say last season, after the manager left and Barry Ferguson came in, you wait and see guys that will come back and not be injured suddenly. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of them just had enough of the old manager and thought, no, I'm just saying I'm injured. I just personally believe that. And well, there's look at the injury list now. It's one or two.
I thought it's interesting that the manager talked about the fact that actually he almost kind of alluded to the fact that he was expecting more people to be injured, given how hard they've worked them in pre-season. Mm-hmm. So actually, he's delighted that he's picked up a slight knock stuff, but actually, given that's maybe to be expected because we've absolutely run them ragged over the last 4 weeks. So he seems delighted by that, and he seems pretty happy with the kind of new medical department that he's got, because he made comment about that. So hopefully there are improvements.
There's only one injury. Well, two if you're counting Sterling.
By the way, Sterling could be perfect in this Martin setup. He could be a real asset. But big question mark about whether or not he's ever going to be able to kind of stay fit for any length of time, isn't it?
But James Ballantyne, who knows? But he might get a chance now for a proper recovery. I think he's spot on there. By the way, I think there's been a lot of times where we might have rushed players back.
Yes,
because we've been desperate, And
Potentially,
do you know what? See if Sterling has to be out until February, March, and he gets over every niggle that he's got, and then he comes back towards the end of the season and performs decently or performs well. Well, that's even better for going into next season with a fully fit John Sterling. Now, I didn't listen to it, but I don't know if I should have asked you two guys before we started. Barry Ferguson was back on the Go Radio football show tonight. Did anybody listen? No. Of course you didn't. Because
but Rangers have a big game coming up, so of course Barry's going to come out with a comment. He's like Dave King, and you can have set your watch by this.
I don't know if there was any takeaways from it, if there was any sound bites that came out of it.
I really hope not.
I
don't know if I can't remember who was on with. We talked about this, that there was a lot of positives from Barry's short tenure, and I hope he doesn't spoil it, because he did a lot of good. Yeah, he made mistakes and stuff like that, and that's fine. But I just hope he doesn't spoil it by coming away and just going into his media pals and starting divulging some stuff. I don't think that's not going to be helpful. And he's maybe a Rangers ambassador here. And he should remember that.
And did he keep that job? Is he still doing it?
He talked about the fact he was going to go back to it, didn't he? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It almost felt a wee bit as if he felt crap. He never got the job, and I don't know if there was a wee bit of ill feeling there. I'm not sure. There might not have been. I may be making that up, but I just got that impression.
What have you guys made of? Clearly, a very set out plan by Russell Martin to get like Sir Alex Ferguson in there. We've seen then photos, Lee McCulloch, Ian Durrant, John Brown, in and around that. There's clearly something that he's deliberately doing there to get these guys in to talk about our football club. What it means to these players who have won a lot of things there. And my God, you've got freaking Barry Ferguson that you could absolutely be calling on at any point to do that. And I hope Barry doesn't kind of ruin that. But it's interesting that the manager's kind of adopted that kind of tactic. I think it's a really positive thing. And
to be honest, it's just really good to have Sir Alex back at the football club. Not to go too much into the past, but he didn't leave under the best circumstances. We were at slightly different. It was a different time when Sir Alex was playing at Rangers. Let's leave it at that, shall we? So it's really good, Brian, to see one of the greatest football managers of all time, who comes from Govan, who supports the football club, seemingly falling back in love with it. And I say that he was in the dressing room after we pumped Leeds in the Champions League in 1992. You know what I mean? Yes. So he's never fell out of love. That's no fair. He's never fell out of love with a football club. But hopefully now that I don't think he's getting any. Yeah, but he's got nothing to do with Man U anymore. Sir Alex, he's completely gone. I think they're a sinking ship, that football club. Hopefully they get relegated this season. But hopefully, Brian, we see him around the football club a lot more.
Absolutely, and Paul's saying John Gregg was in as well. So that can only be good for himself, the manager, and for him to articulate what he wants to the players and say, look at these guys, look at the adulation these guys get now because of what they've done for the football club. That's okay. It's different circumstances now in the sense that nobody stays for that length of time that like Goff and John Gregg and all those guys stayed for 10 plus years. I don't expect any of these players to be playing at Rangers in 10 years' time. I think that's unrealistic. But at the same time, at least they can say to them, look, these guys won things, and look at the adulation they get. They're never forgotten. They're idolized. And Russell Martin can tap into Sir Alex in the sense that what he's done as a manager, how he's dealt with things. Get, like, for example, Man United had several qualifiers that Ferguson was manager of, and how did he cope with the pressures of that and getting through? So, yeah, it's
spend a shitload of money would be the answer, Brian, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, not too dissimilar to Man City or Chelsea. So, but I mean, he's his man manager. You could argue Ferguson was the best man manager ever. How he dealt with his players and how he managed to get a gig out of them, and just it was amazing
Roy
how he
Keane and
got.
Yap Stam might disagree with you there, Brian.
Well, I think he did the right thing, didn't he? He got rid of them at the right. How many times did he get rid of a player and went on to be unbelievable somewhere else? All right, Ronaldo aside, because his heart was set and going to Real Madrid. Yeah. He wanted to go, but if you look at every other player that's left Man United, very, very few went on to be better than what they were at Man United. So he was just a great man manager. Simple as that.
Well, you have to say as well, he was absolutely spot on when he looked at a young Paul Pogba and went, "Nah, I don't want him."
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
absolutely spot on. To which then the football club, this is how mental that football club is, then bring him back in for about 80 or 90 million quid, which is just pure stupidity, really, wasn't it? See that 80 or 90 million, that could have paid the working class staff that they let go and that might have lost mortgages and all that, maybe, just maybe.
You're right, come on, move on.
Maybe the club would have looked after the most vulnerable, but obviously they don't really care.
But get back to us.
sorry, I was going to
here before you
rant.
If we talk about players and kind of deal with Ibrox and stuff like that, well, surely after the week that they've just had and these guys speaking to them, they can be under no illusions then about what it's like to play for Rangers and what the expectations are. And again, I don't know if you'd seen the wee snippet where the manager talked about they've clearly got some rules that they expect players to follow, and it was broken, and so they were running. He made them run. That was their punishment and stuff like that, and they did it. And so,
he's not taking any crap, Stuart. I
quite like some of the stuff that I'm hearing from it and some of the things that he's doing. Obviously results are going to be the most important thing, hopefully starting tomorrow night. But I think he's came in and I've been quite impressed with just some of the stuff he's done and how he's handled things and some of the things that you're starting to hear from him. So long may that continue.
But do you not remember doing things like that? Well, both of you, when you were playing games of football when you were in your teens and somebody did something wrong in the squad and everybody had to get down and do 20 press-ups. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You absolutely cursed them to bits because you were like, you were raging with them. So I think it's, as you say, Stu, I think it's a great thing that they're bringing back all these rules and, punishment, not punishments, but consequences. I think that's brilliant.
And the one thing that he's always, that if you listen to, so Rothwell gave an interview, this is before he signed for us, but he talked about Russell Martin. He talked about his man management style and how he was the best that he's ever worked with in terms of that style. But clearly there's an element where he can be very, very good for you, but he sets a standard. And if you don't meet that standard, then you're going to know about it. And I've got absolutely no problem with that. And I think that's a great way for your dressing room and your club to be run. And hopefully that will filter all the way right through the football club. It shouldn't just be first team. That should be all the way women's team as well.
But it's also a good way for Martin to stamp his authority and say, look, if you do what you are told effectively, then I'll back you to the hilt. We'll do this, we'll get here, we'll do that. If you don't do the non-negotiables, then this is what happens. And I don't care who you are. I don't care what role you've got in the team. This is what happens to everybody. So that means if one or two people are lazy, don't want to do it, it's affecting the whole team. And rather than the players revolting against Martin, it'll be the one or two people who are only doing it that get it because you're making us work harder.
Ferguson was probably the master at that in terms of,
yes,
we talked about the hairdryer treatment, but, out in public, he would defend his players to the hilt, wouldn't he? Even if actually that's a bit wrong, actually, but he was, no, they're my boys and stuff like that. I'm going to protect them. Probably what he's saying behind closed doors is maybe I've got no issues with that.
I can't remember when he hit. Was it David Beckham? He hit in the eye with a boot, and it get made into like a story. See, if that was anybody else bar David Beckham, nobody would have cared. Yeah. Nobody would have cared. But it's because it's all. I almost feel as if he's done that on purpose. you know that? It's Beckham. I want to get in the papers. I want everybody to know what a knob he's becoming. I'm going to hit him in the eye with a boot. But yeah. Right.
Marcus, kicking
just finally. I know. By the way, good shot. I know to hit him in the eye. Fair play. I don't know if anybody knows this. I'm not a fan of Man U. But anyway,
I could never have guessed.
Never guessed.
Cannot stand the football.
Never guessed.
I know. I don't even know. There's not even any real reason why. there's no justification for my hatred at all. I don't get it.
That's just ridiculous. If there's not a reason, that is ridiculous.
There's no reason. There's absolutely. I just hate Man U. I don't know why.
Ridiculous.
I will never not hate Man U. And then, of course, sacking all the minimum wage people.
Come on, Martin, move on. Yeah.
Anyway,
blah, blah.
anyway, finally, if I can just find my note because I forgot what I was going to say. Yes, Brian, the manager said that this game will not define us tomorrow night. However, will it slightly? Will it define the season if we don't go through, or is the fact that we could still fall into the Europa, which, by the way, Besiktas or Shakhtar Donetsk seems a little bit more scary to me than the Champions League draw?
I mean, it's difficult to say if it will define the season. Because what happens if domestically we win a treble? You know what I mean? And then you're in the Champions League straight out. So I don't think it'll certainly help the manager going forward, because then he can potentially sign better players, because he can say to them, look, we're in the Champions League now. So, that's one aspect that's a positive. The negatives, obviously, if you go into the Europa League playoff and you play Shakhtar or Besiktas, and then you go out of that, and then you're in the conference. So that's, it's a slippery slope then. You go out of one, you go into another, and so I don't think it'll define the season. I just think it'll hamper, maybe signing better players for the Champions League, for example. If you don't get in the Champions League, then obviously the money pot dwindles a bit, doesn't it? So I don't think it's going to define the season, because obviously domestically you can still do well. So it'll put it this way: if we get to Champions League, it'll be a massive achievement for the club.
I fancy our chances, Stuart, against Victoria Pilsen or Servette more than I fancy our chances against Besiktas or Shakhtar Donetsk. That's mental, mate. Absolutely mental.
Yeah, the wonderful world of UEFA, how they quite figure all this out. I mean, I'm still trying to get my head around how is the seeded team we're playing at home first tomorrow night. I thought seeded teams always got the home advantage in the second leg, but that's obviously not the case. Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of defining it, probably just to touch back on what we talked about previously, for certain fans, if the result doesn't go well tomorrow night, I think it will just add fuel to their fire that Martin isn't the correct choice. Social media, the "I told you so" brigade will absolutely be out in force. But Brian's right. Yeah, one result tomorrow night doesn't mean that the season is a complete write-off. But I think it would give what a boost it would give us if we got a really positive result tomorrow night and a positive performance as well. Let's say that kind of identity, a kind of style that you can clearly see what they've been working on, and that it's working against a decent opposition. I think it would just give the manager, the club again, just another boost. And what's been a really positive season, it would just keep that kind of good momentum going. But it doesn't define the season, although it will in some people's eyes. Oh, dear.
Somebody asked the other day, why do you go on mute? And it's Brian's fault because of his mic all the time. That's why we go on mute.
In fact, you get blamed for that.
It's always somebody else's fault, isn't it, Martin? It's never you. Always somebody else.
Always.
Honestly.
Always. It's always your fault, Brian. It's always your fault.
Jeez, I'm sitting here just listening and I'm getting blamed for things. I didn't push your mute button.
No, but you do have the power to do it, Brian.
I do, but any more of that, I'll be coming down to Hamilton to see you.
I'll just set Lisa on you.
Well, yeah.
And you'll not get any more French toast.
I know.
My missus makes the best French toast in the world.
She does. Yeah.
How do you know?
I did that morning, Sunday. Jeez, oh.
Right, folks, that will do us for this Monday night. On that note, I need to go and speak to my missus, find out who else she's been cooking French toast for. But yeah, that will do us for tonight. Brian, Stuart, thank you very much. Stuart, welcome back. It's good to have you back.
Yeah, glad to be here. I hope everybody's doing well. Good to speak to you all.
Yes. Well, apart from Brian.
I enjoyed speaking to you, Brian. I enjoyed. Don't listen to him.
Yes, no problem, Stuart. Enjoyed listening to you too.
So just because you two are old, he's got on. That's what it is. Old. By the way, just before we go as well, I should say, Tony McCadden, welcome as to YouTube as a YouTube member. I hope, like I said, I hope you enjoy all the extra content, and just thank you very much for the support. And Donald64, a super chat. Thank you very much, Donald. I'm just off to the bar. Who wants a drink? Please no. As soon as this is done, I'm going to get the biggest glass of diluting juice you've ever seen in your life.
Pints of Cruz Campo, please. There we go.
Donald,
see if I had
yeah.
What you saying, Brian? I know you're going with this. You're going to go 2020 with this, aren't you?
Yeah, Donald, you'll have a bottle of MD 2020.
Which ironically doesn't give me a hangover.
Wow.
Like Cruz Campo does. I don't know if that says more about me than it does about Cruz Campo. But yeah, listen, just thank you for all the support. By the way, massive thank you to Ross and the sniper in the comments who, with their badgering, has got us well over 100 likes on the show tonight on YouTube. So thank you very much to Ross and to Sniper. And if you haven't yet, just give the show a like. It really does help us out. It helps to share it around YouTube. Make sure you're following us across all socials as well. Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. What else is there? Instagram. So do we need this many social? Anyway, that's another conversation for another time. We are back tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. for your members phone in, 12:30 for your afternoon rabble, and then we've got build up, the watch along, and the reaction. So very, very, very busy tomorrow. So make sure you tune in. So from myself, Brian and Stuart, thank you for watching, and we shall speak very, very soon.